Welcome everyone to my video introducing a SWOT report. So a SWOT report, SWOT, stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. And so basically what this is an objective report on a business and gives them an overview of how they're doing, what their strengths and weaknesses are, what opportunities there are, what threats there are. And so basically, this is a report that many businesses do internally, but may also hire a company to do when they are in a position uh, to expand. So they have been doing well and they're ready to take on the next challenge. And so oftentimes this will be a tool used formally as well as informally to figure out their next steps. And this next step could be something that takes a year or more. Um, so it could be a range of things. So this video is going to take you through some basics on the SWOT report that we're going to be performing for assignment 7009 in the online business writing class. So if you are in our course Moodle over here, looking under week 5, you can click on this link right here and that will lead you into our wiki assignment prompt for 7009. And if you want to find the basic wiki page on SWOTs, you can just do a search up here for SWOT. And what will pop up um, is this simple report one. That's what you want to click on. So we're doing a simple SWOT report because most real SWOT reports have access to um, budget information and that sort of thing, and we will not. So financial and accounting information. So we will be doing a simpler version simply because we don't have access to that sort of research. Okay, so the important resources that we'll be looking at are going to be in your Moodle page, and these are things I'm providing you personally. And so as you can see under the first 7009 submission deadline, there is an outline, some potential topics for each section, a couple of examples, and there will be some other research resources later. So the first thing I want to do is give you a quick view of what a SWOT report may look like, what I'm looking for. So this is an example from a previous class. I've obviously changed all their names for privacy's sake. And so you can see it's a very formal looking document. It's very visually appealing. It has a title page. It has a table of contents. And then it has an introduction. And then each section. So there's a strengths section, a weaknesses section, and notice that there are multiple paragraphs within the section. These strategic highlights are basically like mini introductions to the section, so it summarizes the key points that they then go into later. So it's like a thesis for this section. You're welcome to use mini intros for your sections, but if you do it in one section, you have to do it in all of them. So you can see the strategic highlights again. So weaknesses, then our opportunities, our threats. We've got a nice little risk assessment table in there. You will not be required to do a risk assessment. If you want to take that on, just be sure to do it effectively. And then finally our conclusion, in which they make a recommendation for what they think the next step for the business should be. Okay, so that gives you an idea. And so the other example is designed a little differently, but it has the same basic content in sections. So an introduction, notice that it doesn't have page breaks after each section, strengths. This one does not have many introductions into each section, but all of them have a works cited page or a reference page or references. Okay, so really solid research and citations. All right, so I'm going to open up our outline. So this is a Word document available to you on Moodle, the outline right here. Okay, so this is what I want to see in your SWOT report. It's pretty straightforward. You are meant to give an objective overview of the entire business, so you should not be fixating on your first impressions or what you think or what you want them to do. First and foremost, what they are paying you to do is give them an honest appraisal of how they are doing. And so you should not come in with any preconceived answers to that question. You should come in looking for research to identify the answers to the question, how are we doing? So I will talk more, of course, about researching in another video. So in the introduction, you should give a profile of the business. So major categories are, history and ownership, description of the location and possibly different locations that it has. Definitely want to have a paragraph talking about our current customer demographics, and be very specific here because every section will rely on who our customers are. Basically, something is not a strength unless it appeals to our customer demographics. Something is not a weakness unless it's something our customer demographics don't like. Something is only an opportunity if it would draw in customers who are not our current target demographics, and so on and so forth. So in your intro, you should definitely cover that, as well as what their products are, or products or services, and this should be very detailed. So you wouldn't want to waste paragraph space down here in strengths, for example, describing all of the products. That would take too long. It would be boring. So instead, we profile everything we possibly can about each category in the introduction. And then each section can just simply reference that information or the specific information that will help that particular section. So the intro should be very fact-based. You're not making any arguments in the introduction. You are just saying this is who we are. That way the SWOT report is usable by more than those who wrote it. So anyone who reads the SWOT report would be able to get a better understanding of it, but also any section would be able to, multiple sections would be able to draw from this content to reference it in their evidence. Okay, so just be very thorough. I would even recommend having multiple paragraphs grouped by topic. All right, then your strengths and weaknesses. These are all internal to the business. So these are basically the opposite sides of the same coin. Strengths are anything that the business has control over that our current customers love. Okay, it's why they come to us. It's what people give raving reviews about. It's not really a strength if it's just a fact and nobody really cares. Okay, so you want to highlight the things that keeps our customers coming back in the strengths. In the weaknesses, it's a similar thing. You want to highlight anything about our company that we have control over that causes our customer demographic to leave. Okay, so this is why it's really important to identify who our customer demographics are in the intro, because that will allow us to research what they like and do not like. And those are the voices that we want to listen to for evidence and cite for evidence down here. So if let's say my neighbor really doesn't like, the flavor of the food at a restaurant, that only matters if my neighbor is the customer demographic that this business cares about. Okay, so weaknesses are anything that makes us lose our current customers. Okay, so these would be the things that online reviews complain heavily about, or cause people to say they're never coming back, or try to chase other people away from the business. Okay, so then it needs to meet two criteria. One, that it is something that our current demographics care about, and two, it's either something that our current demographics love or something our current demographics hate. So you might be drawing information from the same source for both of these sections. It's just a matter of whether or not they like it or they hate it. All right. So for example, online reviews. You could be drawing lots of information from online reviews that could go in either section, depending on whether it's proving that customers love it or hate it. All right, so that's internal things. So those are things that the business can control themselves. Opportunities and threats are external to our business. It's things they can't control. And so opportunities, and this is the most difficult section, I believe, in a SWOT report. It is the most difficult because it is the only section that does not talk about our current demographics. It talks about potential customers. So that's everybody who is not our current demographic. Is not the people who typically shop with us or are typically not working with us. So these are opportunities if these populations are, you know, someone that we could find an appeal for. So we wouldn't want to change our entire brand and our identity in order to get these kinds of customers. So there is something that they would like about us, but they just currently aren't our customers. So most of the paragraphs in the opportunity section, most of that content will be focusing on who are they? So these are the questions you want to answer in the opportunity section. Who are they? What is that demographic? Describe who they are. How many of them are there in the area? So basically, what percentage of the population? What's their spending power? So how much they spend per month on your kind of product or service? And what do they value? So for your kind of service, what do they care about? What draws them into your a restaurant or a grocery store or whatever your kind of business is? What do they value for your kind of business? Basically, what causes them to pick one place over another? And then finally, you'll want to draw this to a conclusion for a recommendation. So here is this is one of the main mistakes that people make in the opportunities section. They want to talk about ideas like, oh, this business should really have delivery. And then they spend the entire paragraph talking about why delivery is great. Well, that's not the point of the opportunities section. Delivery would be the conclusion. It would just be the last sentence. Therefore, how we will get these customers into our business is through delivery. The rest of the paragraph should be about who they are, how much money they spend, what do they value, how will we get them interested, and therefore this is what our recommendation is. Now this is really important for the overall structure of your SWOT report because the last sentence of every body paragraph, whether it's in strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, or threats, should be a recommendation on that particular topic. So if this, so for example, under strengths, you know, this might simply be, so strengths is probably the one you're going to have the least interesting ideas for your concluding thoughts because there's nothing to fix about a strength. So this, the conclusion underneath a strength might simply be, you know, it's essential to keep this, or how might we expand its notoriety, or expand this product, or expand this strength. Weaknesses, your last sentence of the paragraph would be, how do I fix this particular weakness? So let's say, for example, Maïs in Champaign or Illinois, you know, they have a very small space and very little parking. And so for a while, a lot of student writers would talk about how that's a weakness. It doesn't allow families to get there, and it probably reduces like the amount of things that people order while they're there. And so their solution was, either, so the last sentence of their body paragraph about the small space was, you should get a second location or you should do delivery. Okay, so the last sentence of every body paragraph should be a recommendation for how to fix or go after that particular topic. And this will pay off in a minute. So it'll certainly make your job at the end of this report a lot easier if you make sure you make those recommendations. All right. So that's the opportunity section. Who do we want? Who can we get in our doors? What do they care about? How much do they spend? And then your recommendation. The final body section is threats. And so these are also things outside of our business. So the most obvious things are competitors. And so if you talk about competitors, you definitely want to break those down into specific competitors or specific competitive edges. Other things external to us might be environmental problems. Coffee shops sometimes have to deal with, you know, bean suppliers, you know, either their crops getting destroyed or political unrest. Politics might be something external that could threaten you, either because of regulations that may be You know, people may be trying to shop around, or just political climate, cultural patterns, anything external to us that we don't have control over that could, again, steal away our current customers or discourage our current customer demographics from coming back to our business. Okay, so weaknesses and threats people get mixed up a lot. And in fact, weaknesses and opportunities people get mixed up a lot as well. So I'll be looking out for that problem when I read your first drafts is, does this content belong here? All right, so that's basically it. Strengths, what do our customers love? Weaknesses, what do our customers hate? Opportunities, who could be our customers and how do we get them? And then threats, who is deterring our current customers external to us? And then as a result of all of that, you should have a concluding section, okay, in which you make a recommendation. This should be one big recommendation. Think a year-long project. So it wouldn't just be something small like, let's get posters. So you should say what the recommendation is, describe it, you know, give some more details about that, but you should also tie in each of the points from the rest of the SWOT that support your recommendation. So there's no way that you can come up with a recommendation that ties in every single point. That's impossible. But ending should be um, eventual, meaning that once you get there, you can see how we got there. And the way that we do that is, since this is a concluding section, you basically take all of the mini concluding thoughts, put them all in a list, and say, okay, these are the patterns I'm seeing. I could combine these. It would capitalize on these strengths, reduce this weakness, go after this target demographic, and it would give us a competitive edge over this threat. And that is why you should do this recommendation. So that's basically what you want to do in the concluding section. Give the recommendation, explain it, and then tell us how specific points from earlier support that idea, okay? That will be your overall logical progression. And so it'll be really difficult to come up with this recommendation or make it look logical without these concluding sentences at the end of each body paragraph. Okay, so that's basically the outline I want you to use. All right, other things I want you to draw attention to on Moodle is this potential topics table. So if you open that up, this is what this is. So this basically gives you a bunch of potential topics for each section. Not all of these are going to be relevant. So what I would recommend doing is first go through each section. Once you have selected your business, your small local business, go through here and just cross out any that, or delete any that don't make sense for you. Just straight up, you can already tell it's not going to be relevant. So cut out any that are immediately not relevant. And then for the rest of them, you're going to create a question. So for example, so strengths and weaknesses may be drawing from very similar topics. So marketing, for example. Marketing could be a strength or a weakness, depending on how well your business does at it. So let's say marketing makes it onto my list as a potential topic. So I would want to phrase this as a question. Very simple. How does my business do at marketing? Okay, so that would be my research question. And so I would recommend that for each of these topics, you come up with a research question. Don't try to come up with an answer right away. You want to let the research tell you the answer to this question. And that is what will make it objective. Don't come in immediately writing your answers and saying, this is what's important. This is what you should do. This is the strength, weaknesses, opportunity, or threat. Come in first with the question. How is our company marketing doing? How does the location help or hurt our business? So on and so forth. Okay, so that's what I would recommend doing. And then once you identify the questions that you need answered, then you can come up with your research plan, and that's basically the first part of the assignment, 7009 Part A, which I will be addressing in another video. Okay, so that's it for this video. Please feel free to check out the rest of my resources in your own time so you can get a solid idea. Both of these examples are fairly good quality. They aren't perfect. I wouldn't want to make it too easy for you, but they are solid. You can notice right away that there's solid citation sources in here. Um, and so they do a pretty good job in their structure and tackling the right topics, okay? So feel free to check those out. Again, they're not perfect, but they are definitely solid examples to give you an idea of what kind of writing skills I'm looking for. If you have any questions, you can always bring those to our virtual classroom or send me an email. Good luck.